Welcome to the State Network Podcast. I'm Jim Sparks. I'm here with Megan Villalpando.
Hey, everybody.
Abraham Guevara.
Hello.
And in today's episode, we get the privilege to meet the slightly famous. I only say slightly because I'm thinking like world terms, but in the Western Territory, very famous. Rachel Bach of the Roseville Corps. And Rachel has had an incredibly unique start to her first youth ministry job. This is your first youth ministry job, right? Officially?
Officially, yeah.
Yeah. You've been a volunteer youth worker, but...
right, yes.
Now you're in, right? But she started it in the midst of a pandemic. When did you officially start?
September 1st.
September 1st.
Yeah.
And to make it more fun, she got a new Corps officer at the same time, right? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so why not just bring everything into one, like a pandemic and a new Corps officer and a city that you weren't familiar with, right? You are...
I grew up in Roseville, but the past 3-4 years, I've been in the Golden State Division.
Right.
Kind of jumping around here and there. So, yeah.
So it's a lot of new and it's exciting. And you went to San Jose State. Do I remember that correctly?
I did, but then I also went to SF State. So, yeah.
That's right. All right. Well, cool. Well, before we get way too deep down into Rachel Bach's life and all that good stuff, youth culture. Let's get at it. Abraham, what you got for us?
So I have a question for you guys when it comes to youth culture. I think this is very youth culture because every holiday we get together and we watch movies. We're looking for a good one. What's your recommendation for a Christmas holiday movie to watch with your youth group or youth kids or what family? What movie do you recommend and why is it Jingle All the Way?
Oh, gosh.
That is the best movie, Jim.
Jingle All the Way? Is that the Arnold Schwarzenegger one?
Yeah, and Sinbad.
I've never seen that movie.
Are you saying that for real? Like,
Yeah, that's the best Christmas movie, Jim.
oh
No.
my gosh.
All right, Jim, what is your favorite? Which movie do you think is the best Christmas movie?
My favorite one is A Christmas Story. But that one is not a great one, I will be honest, to like show a youth group because it's slow. Like it's just heavy dialogue and I love it. The how it's written, the quotes in there are incredible.
It's quotable, very quotable.
Yeah, but for a youth group, they'd probably take Jingle All the Way before A Christmas Story just because it moves a lot. I don't know. The problem is the holiday movies that get shown here. I gotta make sure my wife is
Watch your
listening.
back.
It's
Watch
just
your back,
all
Jim.
Hallmark Christmas movies, and that could be a whole separate podcast altogether of breaking down Hallmark movies. But my kids really like the Santa Claus series with Tim Allen. I think it's just called Santa
Tim
Claus.
Allen.
They really like that one, and so that might be a safe bet. But Elf is hard to get around. That's a good one. I don't know.
The Santa Claus movies, I couldn't believe that there was more than one. But it turns out that I think Martin Short is like in like the third one or something.
Yeah.
They just kept making them and they didn't stop.
And like the traditional photocopy process, they get worse as they get further down. But I don't know. What about you girls? What's your go-to Christmas movies?
Megan,
I feel like this is an opportunity for a plug.
I was keeping quiet. Okay, well, one that I like is a classic. I love Home Alone. To me, like, I just get all the nostalgia. I get all the feels. And that's just Christmas to me. It's strange if I don't go through a Christmas season where I don't watch Home Alone. And strangely enough, these are not Christmas movies, but I love watching Harry Potter in the holidays. I don't know why. I've already gone through once for Thanksgiving.
No.
Yes.
I'm ready for round 2 for Christmas.
Oh.
They're so good. There's just something about them that just
I think it's
Christmas.
that Danny Elfman music. I think it's the music, or is it John Williams? I think
John Williams.
It's John Williams. Yeah. It's very like, it has that feel. It feels kind of like Home Alone. Also has that kind of theme that feels very like.
Also John Williams.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, Megan, it's an opportunity to let people know that we have a Christmas youth or young adult showing coming up as well.
Yes. So on Sunday, we are actually having a young adult Christmas watch party, and we are watching the movie Elf. Anybody is welcome to join us. If you need the Zoom information, go ahead and just reach out to us, or you can reach out to your DYS as well and get that information. And join us. It'll be fun.
Rachel, what's your favorite holiday movie, and which one would you recommend to watch with a group of young folks?
Dude, literally same. I was about to say Home Alone, about to say Harry Potter, but
That's right.
Oh, Megan, it's on fire. I was like, yes, Lord.
Wait, is Harry Potter a thing during the holidays then? Is that like a real thing?
There's like always marathons, always.
Oh, is that why? Because they're not really Christmassy. I think I've watched a couple of them, but...
No, not Christmassy. I mean, maybe for like 5 minutes, and then they dish out all the action and stuff, but yeah.
There's just something about them.
All right, Rachel, are you a big Harry Potter fan then? Is that...
I wouldn't really say that. I like it, but I'm not like, I'm going to draw a scar on my forehead kind of thing. So
you don't have a favorite spell?
I mean, I have no idea. I just think it looks cool.
Those spells have been driving me bonkers. So I helped my mom clean out some things, and we found 2 Bandmaster batons. And so she gave them to 2 of my boys, and there's been a lot of Leviosas and a lot of Stupefy or whatever it is being shot at each other. Petronia Spectrum or whatever. I don't even know. And I'm like, finally, I'm like, give me those things. Give them to me. I can't do it. My kids have now seen Home Alone enough where they're starting to deconstruct Home Alone. And I find that fascinating because they're like, Dad, so he's 11 years old. Like, he can't do any of this stuff, right? And look at the timeline. Like, the timeline, he leaves the church at 9 or like 8:45 or 8:30, and then he has it all done in 45 minutes or something like that. And they're like, that's not possible, right? No, it's not possible.
I think there's a fun fact that the one of the inspirations for Home Alone was Die Hard.
Really?
So yeah, it's that was one of the original inspirations for it. So I guess it's just Die Hard with a kid.
Okay.
It's stuck in his home or something.
Yeah, it is a very, very good movie. I actually watched that in the theater. One of the very few movies that I watched in the theater.
I saw Home Alone 2 in theaters.
Really?
Yeah. Also, in case you guys want more Home Alone, there's a 3, 4, and I think there's a 5. Yeah, and they're terrible, so don't watch it.
Okay. I was gonna say.
I have to finish Land Before Time 12 before I get to those. I'm sure they're still making Land Before Time, but holiday movies. Movies are tough in showing kids because what you think, because you forget a lot of things when it's like grandmas telling their daughters like what babies are like. They forget a lot of the things, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, geez. Random tangent. But it's like us with movies, too. We're like, oh, yeah, it's great, because we become desensitized to it, and then all of a sudden we show it. This happened at camp a lot, where all of a sudden we're showing something that we thought was a completely safe movie. It wasn't. And it had these like really awkward moments that we're like, oh, gosh, now we're going to have to figure out how to navigate all this. But
I feel like Christmas Vacation's like that.
Exactly. Like, I was just about to make that point.
Yes. You remember it being like, oh, it's so great. And then you're actually watching it. You're like, wait a minute.
Yep. You're like, it's funny, but we can't. No, there's a lot to explain in there. We did that with our kids, and I was like, I'm going to stop this because we don't really need this. But
Jim, guys, sorry. Can we pause? Someone needs to go potty. I have to go take someone potty, so I'm so sorry.
Nope. Yes, go ahead. And this needs to stay in the episode. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go before she's going to pee her pants.
Turn the audio off, though, please.
Very funny. Working from home. I love it. But yeah, there was a movie that I remember at camp, and I don't remember what the movie was, but it had Sandra Bullock in it for some reason. And they wanted to show it for girls, like all the girls' cabins got together and watched it. It might have been Miss Congeniality or something
I love that movie.
I was about to say that one too.
And so I go, well, I haven't seen it, so you're going to have to tell me about it. Is there anything that we're going to have to be like, and like, no, it's fine. And I'm not sure if that exactly was the movie, but I do remember a very, 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 very conservative female counselor. She escaped the room and came down and just lit me up and was like, this is highly inappropriate and just bonkers. And I had to go up there and shut the movie down. It was awkward. It was really awkward. The girls are all booing me. Stuff. I'm like, why are you shutting it down? This is normal talk. But that's the other hard part too, is a lot of these kids have heard this stuff. And so sometimes it's not that bad to be able to talk it through with them. But
well, also, I think movies had different ratings back in the day. So older movies, like what would probably be rated like a PG-13 or R now, would have been like a PG back in the day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, it's true. I hope that you found success, Abraham. And I hope she found success.
She found success.
Good. That is a first. Rachel, this isn't normal for us.
I was like, all right.
But
getting real comfy, huh?
She would not let up. She was just like, nope, it had to happen now. I'm like, all right.
That's funny. All right, well, all that to say is, yeah, there are some very, very good Christmas movies out there, but don't forget to vet them before you show them to your people. And Jingle All the Way, I cannot believe was even discussed at all.
Oh, that's so good.
It is. That's one that Arnold Schwarzenegger wants back. I'm convinced of that.
No, it's so good. Phil Hartman's in there too. Come on.
Okay, that's the only plus. Is Phil Hartman gone too soon? Rachel probably doesn't even know who Phil Hartman is.
That's why I took a sip of water.
That's crazy. Oh well. Rachel, thank you again for joining us. So tell us how you got started. Let's go to the roots. How did you get started in the Salvation Army?
Whoa. So, wow, big question. So, I just got started. Well, I probably should have scripted this, but, my grandparents, my Lola, were, officers in the Salvation Army back in the Philippines. They got moved to Hawaii and then to the Bay Area. So basically pioneers for my family. And my mom was really the one to have a pig. Man, this is a podcast. I can't talk.
That's all right.
So she was like the big push for involvement for my siblings and myself. And I've always been a super like obnoxious and energetic person. So like my core officers in middle school, they hooked me into VBS. They hooked me into like praise and worship. And I was like, oh man, this energy is so awesome. I could like do all of this, XYZ, and like be super dorky with the kids. So like being able to have that energy harnessed within the aspect of teaching Jesus was like, God, this is so cool. So I was pretty stoked to get like involved with camp, like especially as a lifeguard, because those skits, I would like lose my voice every week. I was like, yes, God, I just want to do this, I want to do that. And then, yes, God, I just want to do this. But yeah, so being able to be a lifeguard, and then super cool guy, Derek Helms, he was like, oh, here, you can play this horn, whatever. So I got involved with music. And then, man, it's really been a quick minute since I've spoken to that dude. But anyways, he was really the one that really got me stoked about brass. And then whether it's being like at WMI or like, again, at the core, brass and music has been like a really huge outlet in how I have ministry with God and everything. So yeah, like I just keep remembering Derek saying like, oh, remember to stay involved with your core, remember to do this, remember to do that. But yeah, being in the Army, like, has helped me so much with my relationship with God, and like, just been good, just been really good.
That's awesome. So it seems that like youth ministry was almost a natural path for you. It felt natural, and I mean, you talked about like just the excitement of all of it. At what point did you think, hey, I could do this for a living?
Man, okay. So like I had a huge struggle just going into college, because like I was like, oh man, I want to be an officer. I want to do this. Woohoo, dissolute, whatever. But like God took me on a different path when, service corps. I Megan already knows. I tore my ACL, my meniscus when I was doing some taekwondo stuff. Got back home, did like physical therapy. I was like, whoa, this is actually really cool. So then I dived more into that instead of doing the business major. So I finished with kinesiology bachelor's, and then I was just like, man, like I could do all these jobs, like work at a clinic or be like an office manager, work as a autism behavior specialist or whatever. But like it's just like, I yearn to work with the youth again. So like, especially when this pandemic happened, I was one of the ones that was laid off, which is totally okay. But I was like, all right, God, I see what you're doing. That's okay. Because then like going into youth ministry again, I was just like, man, I just miss being like able to work with the kids, being able to work with like the parents and stuff, having that interaction with them. But then obviously it's going to be super different because COVID. And yeah, I think I went off on a huge tangent on that, but I forgot the question now.
No, I think you're answering it just fine.
Rachel, you mentioned the pandemic. You started your new job pretty early in the pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that was like?
Yeah, it was super weird because, like, again, I was laid off, and then I was like, oh, man, I don't want to work in youth ministry because Lieutenant Stephanie and Steve Pavlakis are like, oh, this job opened up. You should totally go for it. I was like, I mean, I still want to look for like a clinical position. And then like, it was literally like every day I would say about, it'd be cool to go back to the Corps. And then I already heard, like, got in my head saying like, dude, Rachel, take the position, apply for it. So it was basically a Jonah move, avoided that calling. But I ended up pretty much like applying to every other job besides the Corps and not getting it. I was like, really, man? Come on. And so like Major George Rajagera, he's like, hey, you should apply to the job. I was like, all right, God, fine. I'll go. I'll do it. So long story short, I was like hooked. So I was just like, especially again with the pandemic, I was like, it's going to be super difficult at times. And like coming in as a new / oldie face to the Corps, I was honestly like scared, like what's going on? No one's like communicating, or like everyone's trying to not be at the Corps. But being able to like kind of start fresh from the ground up was a really cool challenge, and being able to see like, oh God, you're still working it. That's awesome. So I was pretty stoked about that.
Yeah, I love that. Just, you're right. That's such an interesting observation. Everybody's trying to not be at the Corps during this time. And you're like, I'm here. I want to start some stuff. That's got to be a challenge. You kind of talked about this a little bit, but I'm curious. So Roseville's your home Corps, right? That's the Corps that you grew up in. What was it? What was it like kind of growing up in the Corps, and then now you're taking like a formal leadership role as a youth leader? What was that kind of transition like?
Yeah, so just even thinking about like being the youth pastor, I was like, oh man, I just remember like super bagging on the youth pastors, like, really, we're gonna do this today, or like we're gonna do that. Why is this so super cheesy? And now I'm like all for super dorky and like like really cheesy stuff, just so the kids can understand it. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's why they did that. That makes more sense. And like it was easy to obviously like grasp at like being a teen and just seeing the difference between like being a leader versus like, oh, I have to learn this, really? Like just asking why all the time. So I think it's also a huge, I wouldn't say a huge, it's just a huge job to be able to like tell the kids about Jesus. Like these little ducklings don't know, like they can't grasp it that well, but then some of them can, which is pretty awesome. Like, anyways, sorry. Like, just having that transition between youth to leader has been really helpful. And well, personally in my walk, just because, again, breaking it down to like the nitty gritty of like, instead of sugarcoating things, kids already know if you're not like in it, and like if you're putting up a front. And I was just conscious of that too, because again, I'm like super energetic and like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. But then I need to be aware of like the current environment and everything too. So being sensitive to like what families are going through, being sensitive to what the kids are going through, because they're poor kids sitting at the computer for X amount of hours a day. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna need glasses after this. Like, I'm not trying to like be in front of the computer, but they have to, kind of thing. But again, seeing that difference between like as a youth versus a leader, I'm more understanding of how things were done back in the day, and like trying to convey to the kids, like, you know, this is like the biggest message again, just God loves you, dude. Like, I can't tell you enough, like in all of these like ridiculous skits, all these ridiculous lessons, like this is something I want to pour into you. But then yeah, like there's always going to be like one or two kids are like, yeah, I don't like this person, this is super lame. I'm like, it's all right. I mean, the message was conveyed and I was able to like express to them, at least it's planted in their heads. They're like, man, that was boring. Like, so they're still thinking about it, like the wheels are still turning. So I think that's like the biggest accomplishment, even if they didn't like it. So
yeah,
having
definitely
those differences.
Yeah. I think it's so funny. Yeah, with children's ministry, kids don't like shy away from their feelings. Like if you're going to get rejected, you will know it. They will let you know. Yep. They don't shy away from sharing it. Since being kind of just taking up this new role, what is maybe one or two of kind of like your biggest challenges that you're kind of either facing or maybe that you've overcome?
Yeah, like one of the biggest ones that I faced just initially coming in was I literally had to like clean and organize and try and figure out, okay, what families are here? What families are there, kind of thing, in their position. So literally the first 2 weeks, again, I was like calling, I was like emailing, like, oh, you know, we're still here. I'm the new youth pastor, by the way. So, so it's like, oh, this is coming from the previous youth pastor's number. Who is this person? So like being able to build up that rapport with the families. Like, again, just being super transparent, being really honest, like, I'm a new person, but I've been here before. And then there were those families who were like, oh, whoa, you're the new youth pastor? I remember when you were this small. I remember blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yep, that's me. So being able to like reconnect with the families and say that, you know, we're still here. We're here to support you. We're here to still reach out to your kids. Because I know this has been, again, oh man, what's that word?
Unprecedented.
Unprecedented.
Yes.
Wait, unprecedented.
Unprecedented?
No, you had it right, Jim. Sorry.
But thank you. Yeah, just being able to, again, just being that mindset of where those kids are at, like, oh man, I got to do this, I got to do that. So understanding that like everything needs to be short and sweet. not like, all right, let's spend 45 minutes talking about how God's the vine and we're the branches. I was like, dude, no. So being, again, just reconnecting has been an awesome challenge. Because then they're like, oh, you're new, so is it okay to bring in more people? I'm like, yes, please, that would be awesome. And then like kind of reinventing the wheel a little bit in terms of how things are done via Zoom or YouTube and stuff. So it's been really cool.
Rachel, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about that real quick. You mentioned that people knew you growing up, and now they see you as like a youth leader. Mm-hmm. Is that is there any challenges that come from that part? I know that's always like a dynamic that is really interesting when you grow up in ministry and now you're doing ministry and you're now going to be like a spiritual like advisor to people in certain areas, and they're like, you're that kid that I saw running around that I used to like, scold and tell you to stop running in the church or whatever. So I don't know, is that something that you might feel like self-conscious about, or is that, I don't know, how is that?
No, yeah, for sure. So just being able to send out those emails to like the core leaders or to the parents, they're like, wait, aren't you in like a different division? I'm like, nope, I'm the youth pastor at Roseville now. And then being able to like lead worship too, because like there's always like a huge experience like when you're outside of your home core. So bringing it all back, especially like, oh, Rachel's a new youth pastor. Oh, Rachel's a new praise and worship person. Why?
Yeah.
Like, what makes her qualified? Like, we've seen her do like X, Y, and Z. So like, I think the biggest challenge, like initially with the youth, was just saying that like, hey, parents, even though like you've seen me do X, Y, and Z, I feel called to this position. God has placed me in this position where I am a leader. So I'm going to say like, this is a time where of that transition between being a youth to a leader. So it kind of played along the lines of having respect, just because it's like, what makes you qualify? Like, we've seen you again do like X, Y, and Z, and then you've just played in the background kind of thing. And again, with like praise and worship too, like I'm all about the emails. I send like 10 billion emails a day to parents, and then I call at the end of the day. I'm like, hey, we should do this. Oh, you're calling again? I thought we talked about this yesterday. But just having that open communication with like the leadership, and saying that, again, God has put me here for a reason. It's not just because like, oh, she was here before, like we could just cover her for a little while. But yeah. So it's That's just awesome. Again, like the leadership issue. Well, no, I wouldn't say issue. The leadership challenge was pretty evident when I first started, but I think it was cool because then anyways, my leadership style is to have like that servant leadership. So being able to like collaborate with others on the team, even though they're not the leader per se, because like it, going back to praise and worship, like having that open communication, say like, oh, what do you think about this? Oh, I didn't think of that. That's awesome. So like able to collaborate in that way. Yeah.
That's awesome. No, like I feel like a lot of folks who grow up in chorus kind of have that experience, and when they move into leadership, and I think it's very nice to know that if you're listening to this, you're not alone in that feeling of like, oh man, like that's so and so who's been at the core for so many years, and how am I going to be able to talk to them? But yeah, that's really good. That it's actually kind of like nice to know,
For sure.
The other thing is, you started the position, you're fairly new at the position before the pandemic. How long were you doing it before the pandemic, or was it right at the pandemic that you started?
So I literally started in the middle of the pandemic.
Oh, in the middle, okay.
Yeah, because they transitioned from the Pavlakis to the Rodrigueras.
Yeah.
And then, so I was with the Rodrigueras for about like 2 weeks, and then we transitioned into Major Helton. So it was like, oh, I'm working with this person now.
Yeah.
I'm working with this person now.
So, like, you had sort of like your way of kind of picturing youth ministry. Like, what's something that you're looking forward to, like, when this is all over, when the pandemic? What's something that you, like, when things kind of get back to normal, what's something that you're hoping, you get to do?
Ooh, well, okay. In-person meetings, hands down, like, for sure, for sure. Because, I mean, again, I think we've all had enough computer time. And, like, I think it's also it's also showing us, God is showing us that, like, we're not going to take it for granted now. We're not going to take for granted, like, oh, man, maybe, should I go to that youth night? Nah, it's okay. Like, I could do it for next week. Like, really really seizing your moment. Oh, man, I just thought of Coco. Sorry. Yeah, like, again, just being able to have those in-person meetings, being able to interact with the ducklings as much as, like, it brings so much joy to, like, for me, myself, and I'm pretty sure the kids too, because getting out of the house, getting out of that space where they're like, oh, man, this is like the daily routine kind of thing. So I'm really stoked for the day we get all back together, because, again, I feel like this is God's way of saying, like, don't take today for granted. Like, really, really, again, just seize the day, being able to fellowship with others, being able to grow with others, instead of just staring at a screen. But yeah, I'm so stoked for in-person meetings, because woo. And being able to hug people, being able to handshake people. Oh my gosh. Like, because I know, like, the types of love, but, like, now, like, I feel like we're all depleted for that physical affection and everything. Yeah. But yes, in-person meetings, I'm super stoked to do those. And oh my gosh, and camp. Ooh, that's
a big one.
That's like a huge ministry that, like, has played a huge role in my life too. So
awesome.
Yeah. What's one of your favorite ideas that you've had so far?
So for Troops, this past fall winter season, I had the idea of having a theme to it. So we had a secret agent theme, because we're meeting on the computers and everything. So I would come dressed up in, like, my uniform with, like, a polo, my uniform shirt. Oh my gosh. And then I would have sunglasses, and then I had, like, the colored mustache and stuff. Because what I had the kids do is that they come to the core, pick up their mission folder, and it had stuff like they had to decode and everything just so they can get to the meeting. But their parental operatives had the code, so they didn't really had to decode that part. But
parental operatives?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, just having, like, the theme, I think has really pushed to, like, oh, we gotta go on the computer, actually go, like, do a mission report and stuff like that. So then, like, now this next season for spring, so it's kind of playing along, like, the Harry Potter houses, but we're gonna have, like, oh my gosh, the house, I forgot what it's called, but it deals with the disciples, and then we're gonna focus on 4 different disciples every month. So being able to, like, oh, you're for Team Peter, you're for Team, isn't there?
Team Judas?
Yes. Oh, wait, no. Okay, maybe I didn't think that one through. Oh, snap. Maybe we shouldn't do Team Judas, huh?
Oh, no.
Oh, my gosh.
No, it's a good idea. It's good.
That's a trap team.
But
awesome.
Yeah, those are, like, my pretty much favorite ideas I've had so far, because it's Team Judas. Oh, man.
That's funny. Rachel, this is a time in the podcast that you could give a direct message to each of our listeners, and we'll give you 1 minute. What you got?
Gotcha. Hello, listeners. Thank you for tuning in to a time of cool jazz. Well, seriously, thank you all for so much for listening about my testimony about this crazy time. I just want to say that God's joy is accessible in any time, anywhere, any place. He will never leave us nor forsake us, especially during this time. One of my favorite Bible verses in Matthew 11, 28 through 29, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest in your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Woo! God is so good. Follow God's still small voice, and he will always speak through you in big waves.
Rachel, awesome. And your enthusiasm is incredibly infectious and contagious. Infectious and contagious? I don't know. In pandemic, we got to be sensitive to some of the language that we use. But no, we appreciate you so much. And it's been fun from our perspective to watch you grow, because we've known you for a while now. And, and to... it's funny, you've only been hired as a youth leader for a little bit, but you spoke a lot of wisdom today, and you hit on some very, very serious things that youth workers need to be good at, and just the contacting people and being in communication and making the mundane exciting. Troops, that idea with troops is awesome. Like, I think that's so cool. And troops is fun in itself, but why not make it more fun? And you're figuring out ways to adapt. And you have started an incredibly difficult time. And you had multiple officer transitions all in one shot. So for you to be as excited and enthusiastic and optimistic as you are now says a lot about who you are and how good you are going to be at this job. And so we appreciate you hanging out with us for just a little bit. Woo. So, Rachel, thanks for being here. If you're listening and have questions or thoughts on this episode, please reach out to us. We want to hear from you. You could send us a message on social media at Sade Network or email us at sadeconnect@gmail.com. Anything we've talked about in the episode will be linked in the show notes. Don't forget, except for Jingle All the Way, we're not linking a dang thing to that. And don't forget to subscribe to the Sade Network podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube for updates on new episodes. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week with a brand new episode because we don't repeat them. See you, everyone.
Bye.
See you guys.
Woohoo!
Best movie ever. Jingle All the Way.